Today's episode is brought to you by Real Estate Radio Experts. If you want to dominate your market, radio is the singular marketing tool that can put you on top. You cast a giant net. You reach thousands of people in a single spot. You have instant trust and instant credibility. You get come list me leads. If you thought radio was too expensive, think again. You can't afford not to do radio. If you don't do it, your competitor will. Go to Real Estate Radio Experts or just send me an email and let's put you on top. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Hey, everybody, before we get to the episode, the content today, I just want to tell you that in the future, if you don't want to miss future episodes and tips and tricks like you're going to hear today, what I want you to do is go to the site, go to Real Estate, that's our other site, go to superagentslive.com. Register, sign up for my free ebook, get on the list, and we'll send you out future alerts. Now, and the other thing I'd love you to do, hey, look, subscribe to the show. And if you feel so inclined, give us an honest review on iTunes. I'd appreciate that. Now, look, today's episode, this guy is a team of 10. He's in Manhattan, which is, I don't know if you know about Manhattan. It's a crazy market. They don't have an MLS. Yeah, they don't have an MLS. Today's guest does 330 deals. They range from $150,000, I don't know what you buy for $150 in Manhattan, all the way to $10 million properties. Now, this guy, I have a lot of fun with this guy. Dylan Hoffman is his name, and he was an actor turned real estate agent. And we dig into that a little bit. We dig into, why you should think about taking improv classes, why you should know how to get into character. So look, I hope you like it. Let's get to it. On the show today, I'm really excited about talking with this guest. I love mixing it up in terms of talking with people who do stuff in LA, stuff in the Midwest, whatever. Today's guest has a team size of 10. In terms of transaction, he was number 4 in Manhattan for Douglas Elliman, number 1 2 years in a row, and he does about 330 transactions. Now, in terms of his average sales price, this is what is interesting about this guy. This guy's Manhattan, and he sells units at $150,000 one-bedroom condo, all the way up to $10 million properties. Now, he does new construction. He works with the largest condo project in Manhattan. I'm thrilled to welcome Dylan Hoffman. Hey, Dylan, thanks for taking the time out today.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So listen, I know a little bit about you. You have an interesting background. I want to talk about your business, but before we get there, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into your business.
All right, cool. So I moved to Manhattan in probably like 95. I was an actor for about 5 years. I didn't really have the chops to make it as an actor, so I got my real estate license, and I've been selling since about 2000. Started selling, started renting apartments. Did about 15 a month, and about a year after that, I moved over to sales, and was number 1 in my small real estate firm, Smith Chang & Company. They got bought out. I moved over to Douglas Elliman. Hooked up with my partner, Brian Meyer, like a month after that, who I already knew in the industry. And he and I started selling properties together, and it's been about 12 years now. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's interesting. I want to talk a little bit about this actor bit, right? Because everybody wants to. I literally had hopes of being an actor until about 35, right? Because Tom Selleck got discovered at 35. So I know you did. You actually did. You did movie roles, did a bunch of commercials. You did it. How come you let that dream go?
My parents are both in the business. My mom was an art director in L.A. for 35 years. She got me a lot of bit parts in small shows. I did a bunch of commercials. Finally graduated college and moved out to New York to become a quote-unquote real actor and realized these guys can really act.
Right.
They're really good in New York.
Yeah.
Not so great in L.A. You can smile and laugh and have a great time in L.A. and make a good living. In New York City, different story.
Yeah.
So I did a myriad of roles, but I was making more money renting out my apartment illegally, illegal sublet they call it in New York, making more money renting out my apartment, and then renting out the apartment next door, which happened to be another actor, then renting out the apartment below me, which was another actor. So I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of fun. So when I finally finished my last tour, I was like, you know what? This is, I think, my calling, as it were. If real estate ever had a calling, I guess this would be it. And I got my license and just hit the ground running, so to speak.
How funny. Well, here's what's funny about New York. When you spend time in New York, you just walk down the street and you're like, you can bump into Al Pacino walking out of a little grocery store.
I saw him like 2 months ago. I was coming back from an appointment. I saw him in like a little crappy little car, and everyone was like taking photos of the sky. I'm like, oh my God, it's Al Pacino. Why is he in that small, weird car? Right. Anyway, he was doing a show on Broadway, which was just a few blocks away.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Al Pacino's everywhere.
Well, I've had that. In Manhattan, I've had that experience so many times. Just, I'm in a really bad hotel. I get in the elevator to go to the bar, and behind me is like, Tyson or somebody. And I'm like, holy smokes. Anyhow, all right. Yeah. So, but when you, just for me, help me understand this, Dylan. So, when you see that, when you bump into an Al Pacino or you name it, Alec Baldwin or somebody from 30 Rock, does that actor bug ever pop back into you?
You know what? To be honest with you, I'm so happy I'm not an actor. It was just something that was like my dad's still on Broadway today.
Wow.
He's head carpenter for Studio 54. They're doing Cabaret now for the second time. Like, I grew up in the theater. My first time I was on stage, I was 6 years old when my parents were getting their masters at Carnegie Mellon. And they needed a kid on stage for some show. So, it's been a long time. It was just something that I knew innately just because I grew up in the business. I had no idea what else to study, so I studied theater in college. But you know what? My true calling was sales.
Got it.
And real estate lends itself very, very well to my personality, my work process, how I am as an individual. So.
All right. So, let's segue into that. But before we get into that, I'm sure you took acting classes. I'm sure you probably took improv classes. How have that background for you, how has that, you think, improved you as a salesperson?
It really has, actually, to be honest with you. Like, if there's any real estate brokers out there, taking improv class will help you think better on your feet.
Yeah.
Put you in situations where, also knowing your product, knowing the market, knowing all the facts, knowing your lines, as it were, will also help you. But yeah, it's just a frame of mind. You go in there and you're ready. You're thinking on your feet. You're ready to handle anything in any situation.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is especially with improv. You can get you get into character, and I think so many people get into situations with sales that they are fearful, right? Whether they're walking to a listing presentation or whatever it is. And I think being able to get into character and saying, hey, listen, I'm this guy right here for the next 30 minutes, I think that's super helpful.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay,
I couldn't agree more.
All right,
and I probably rely on it so much, and it's so innate now that I don't even recognize it. But when you brought it up, I was like, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So you're making more money doing rentals, and then you transitioned into sales. So, you're sort of in a lot of ways, are you the accidental, successful real estate guy?
Absolutely not. I work my freaking tail off. I'm in the office at 8 a.m. every morning. I'm pounding about 2.5 hours of prospecting out every morning before about 11 a.m. I'm meeting owners who are selling on their own. I'm meeting buyers who refer to me. I'm going out. I'm meeting developers. I am the workhorse of my group. And I put in the hours, and that's something that I do. I personally enjoy it. A lot of people don't like putting in the hours. I love what I do. I go out there and I pound the pavement. I work. I find listings. I find buyers. I find sellers. I'm a workhorse.
Got it. Okay.
And I love it.
So when you say 2 hours of prospecting, walk us through that, because I'm sure a lot of people are out there, are in, this situation going, and I get emails all the time. They're like, oh, Toby, how do I find leads? What do I do? I hear people say prospecting, but what does that mean? What do you do? Do you don't pick up the yellow pages?
Not yet. If it works, I'll do it. No. If you're telling me to pick up the yellow pages, I'll pick that up. Although I haven't seen one in about 15 years.
Yeah, I no kidding.
So I have a lot of lead generation sources. I work with Trulia for lead generation. I work with Zillow for lead generation. I have a privatized lead generation source that I help write the algorithm for that goes out and any for sale by owners or owners selling on their own, it'll pick up keywords and it'll put it into a spreadsheet with for me and send me that information.
Wow.
So it's been 10 years in the making, but I have these lead generations in place, and it's just that, hey, Mr. Seller, I know you're selling on your own. I have a one bedroom in the neighborhood just like it. I might have some crossover traffic. Would you mind me taking a look at your property? And that's where it all starts: getting into the property, making that rapport with that seller at that point. And listen, I know that you work with Tom. He had his father on.
Oh yeah.
I'm not the hard pitch guy. I'll go in there. I'll make a relationship with these people, and you know what? If it fits, it fits. If not, there are so many fish in the sea. I don't need to cram this hook into this fish's mouth and bring him into the boat. There's just so much other. I don't have to waste my time with crazy sellers. If it fits, if it works, and we have a good rapport together, I'll sit down with them and put together a marketing package and go back a second time and pitch them. If it works out, great. If not, I know I do so much prospecting that I have so many other leads I can choose from. I'm not pigeonholed into one insane seller.
Got it. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's certainly an abundance mindset. I mean, and I guess you have that abundance mindset because you see abundance. Now, so when you say, you work with Zillow and Trulia, and that's great. And let's talk about that for a second. How do those work for you? Because it's hit and miss. I hear some people go, "Oh, it's awesome," and other people go, "I wouldn't waste $1 on it."
It's not cheap. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But they do. You buy a zip code, and you share a zip code with several other brokers in the neighborhood, but they're good for 2 to 5 leads a day. I reach out to these people. 50% are crazy, 20% will see you, and 10% sign. It's just like anything. You got to make the phone calls and make the relationships, to forge the relationships to see what's going to work or not.
So is there sort of a magic for that? So you're going to get 2 to 5 leads a day, and you're sharing those, and there's another 4 or 5 people who are going to get the same 2 to 5 leads. Is it a speed issue for you? As soon as you get the lead, do you have to call them, or what's your method for that?
Yeah, a lot of the top brokers in the industry will say, look, if you have some type of an appraisal system that you go out there and you have your name attached to, get an instant appraisal, or sign up to Zillow and have an instant appraisal done. Yeah, you gotta pick up the phone right away. I try to call. There's like a 5-minute hot period that I try to call within 5 minutes. Obviously, I'm going to appointments, I'm meeting other sellers, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm meeting developers, so it's not always the best time for me. Yeah. But I always try to reach out and make that phone call really fast at that moment. If not, I put it into my system, and I know I'll be at the office at 8 a.m. I finish my my emails from the night before, because every time you wake up, there's 150 emails in your inbox. You got to clean that out, make sure everything's on point. And then 8:30, I start my calls. I like to do it at 8:30 because 8:30 is before everybody kind of starts work. So if you get that call before the workday starts, your hit ratio is much better.
Yeah, interesting. Go ahead. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. And I like to make that one phone call. It's just a quick call. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Seller? Dylan Hoffman, Douglas Elliman, and notice you had the townhouse next door to my townhouse on the market, whatever the case scenario is. Love to come by just to take a quick look at it. Well, I'm not really working with brokers. Well, you're not working with brokers. Why aren't you working with brokers? You should work with brokers. They have over 7,000 brokers in Manhattan. They have all the leads to all the buyers. As a matter of fact, I had a buyer come in here yesterday, and they were asking about the property next door. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, great. I'll meet you. And that's all you need to do. You need to get there and meet them and start the rapport.
Got it. Okay, that's awesome, man. I love that rubber meets the road stuff. There's many people come on and they tell me stuff. They'll say, especially coaches, they'll come on and they'll say, hey, you got to be 6 months ahead of the curve.
Right.
Okay, great. Well, what is that? And how do you do that? So I love that stuff. So, obviously Zillow and Trulia, for the most part, those are on the buyer side. Talk to us a little bit about this new development thing that you're doing. You're working with some developers and this condo project.
Right. So Douglas Elliman is the leading real estate firm that I work for, is the leading real estate firm for new developments in Manhattan. and they have Frederick and John, who's on the $1 million listing, and just developments come in, and every once in a while they have a few that they give to other brokers. Now, we kind of stepped in, a little bit with this one. We went out there, they gave it to a couple of the brokers. It's in East New York, which is, if you know Manhattan, it's far out in Brooklyn. But, when we went out there, we didn't know what to expect. We took it over from a local brokerage company. We kind of gave it the Hoffman, Douglas Elliman team spin on it. Restaged a few of the properties. Actually, they never even co-broked, actually. So we really kind of introduced it to the real estate market and as a whole, and just started selling them left and right, 7 a week, 8 a week.
Wow.
And now we're deep into it, and we have about 350 units left out of about 1,500 units, which is a big property.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I'm a little bit confused. Is this something that you went out and prospected and found, or did it just come to you? Not
this particular one.
Okay.
This one came from Douglas Elliman's sphere of influence. I do have 1810 3rd Avenue. I do have 5905 Lex, 215 Avenue B. Many. I've done about 22 new developments, and this is I've only have 2 with Douglas Elliman. The rest of them are from my center of influence or referral sources from other developers, or just me hitting the pavement, just like I do with my sellers. Going out there, meeting developers, sitting down with them, and going over some comps with their project, and then starting rapport with them early on in the project. It takes like 3 years to get something up and running, but if I'm able to sit down with the developers early on, walk through floor plans, the best floor plans that maximize their return on investment for that particular area, then you're usually going to sign me up as their on-site broker.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so listen, I mean, for everybody in the audience, as soon as you start seeing, if you wait till you see the signs go up, it's too late. So
yeah.
You know what I mean? You're way too late. So
Yeah.
What do you do? Are you sort of like paying attention to when people pull permits? And
I mean, honestly, when the developers, it's all about referrals. It's
Okay.
really nothing more than that. So our first development was 2007, and we got a referral from the head of another real estate company that we just knew from somebody, and we sat down with this developer. We had that rapport right off the bat, and then and we sat down with him. We got into bed with him early, and we released this project and sold it out. He actually ended up having 4 more developments for us to work on in the ensuing years, and then he referred us out. We did a great job. We got a very high dollar per square foot for him. He was very, very satisfied, and the work got out.
Interesting. So in terms of referrals, if somebody wanted to do this, or do you think going and trying to build relationships with architects that specialize in high-rise units, I mean, would that be something that you would consider or do, or a good idea?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a couple of things that we do to forge relationships with architects or other avenues that developers need to go to get their permits and to put the property on the market. And we have a couple of monthly groups that we sit down and meet. And Brian actually does most of this, but he sits down with these architects. They have a development that they're speaking to, or even commercial brokers. Commercial brokers will sell the property to the developer, and then we get in early with those commercial brokers. We give them a little referral fee. We get if we get the listing, and we're one of the first brokers to sit down. We're residential brokers to sit down with these developers and talk about a sellout.
Got it. Interesting. Let me ask you this, Dylan. So, again, I have listeners all over the nation and all over the globe, but how is it different? I mean, do you think let's say somebody in Sacramento, California, and look, you grew up in LA, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you obviously know what Sacramento is like. How is building a real estate business different from in Sacramento versus a very, very dense place like Manhattan?
It's interesting. Like I actually coach with Tom Ferry, and my coach is one of the elite, obviously one of the best in his area, and he's from Utah, and he sells I don't know 500 units, maybe not that many, but a lot of units a month. a year. And I've never sold anywhere else. I've never even sold a house. I've sold many townhouses, but I've actually never sold a house with a white picket fence and a yard, a dog, and yada, yada, yada. Never done that. It's always condo co-ops and townhouses. Townhouses attached to other, they're attached townhouses. They're like row houses almost. We've actually never done that. We don't even have an MLS in Manhattan. People freak out. They're like, what do you mean you don't have an MLS? We have no MLS system in Manhattan. There's privatized systems like a company called Street Easy that pretty much dominate the landscape. So buyers and sellers, even brokers, go on these public websites to get information. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea what it's like in any other market except for Manhattan. If you put me down in Los Angeles, I would be like, what now?
Well, I think I think for me, if I think about it, one of the things you said early on, Dylan, you said, hey, you have to know your inventory, right? You have to know your market. Now, if you just sell condos and you there's probably 3-4 floor plans, right? So you can walk into 3 of them and know what the whole building looks like. Whereas I guess if you're selling onesie twosies houses, it's a little bit more difficult to know what that market is like.
Yeah, it's just a trial and error. You go out there, you learn your property. Maybe if you're a young broker, you get onto a strong team and learn it that way. I had I'm never that person to really follow. I'm more of a doer. So when I got there, it was trial and error. When I started renting apartments, it was just so easy for me. I found an avenue on Craigslist, which was semi-undiscovered at the time. I would go down and I would actually knock on the door to landlords. Like, hey, how you doing? I'd meet a super or a landlord and be like, hey, you got a couple of apartments for rent in here. Yeah, I see the sign on the board. What if I were to tell you that I can get these things rented in a week? What are you talking about? I can get these things rented in a week. Give me a set of keys. I don't want any exclusive. Just give me a week. Sure, no problem. It wasn't that easy. Of course, I went back a couple of times and we had a cup of coffee with them. But I would put it on this semi-undiscovered website called Craigslist. I would post a studio or 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom for the amount of money that was listed for. And in New York City, rentals, it's still a rental market. 60 to 70% of all residential buildings are still rental. It's still dominated a residential market, so it's a very, very strong market. You list a 2-bedroom on Craigslist, especially back in 2001, you would get so many phone calls. And I would rent them out on the weekend. And that's basically how I got my start. And so it was the density that you talked about. It was just so easy for me to tap into. I didn't have to really run around and go from county to county or town to town and spend 45 minutes in a car. I could just go down to, my offices in Union Square. I had like multiple buildings in Union Square that were just a 5-minute walk from my office, and I could just show those at a moment's notice.
Wow. Interesting. So you're doing, again, you started with rentals, you moved into sales, and you found, how important is it to have a niche for somebody like you in a Manhattan?
Niches are interesting. If you talk to my office manager, my boss, he got his start in the 80s in Manhattan, and he was known as the downtown penthouse penthouse broker. Yeah. But today with the internet, everything is so small. Like I kill these brokers in listing, not I don't actually kill them, but in listing presentations when they say that they're the neighborhood broker. I'm like, what is the neighborhood broker? There's no more neighborhood anymore. It's the internet has made everything so small. Like I can get from Brooklyn to the Upper East Side in half hour. Why couldn't I show a property in Brooklyn and show a property in the Upper East Side? It doesn't make any sense. But now there are some brokers who deal in niches, just townhouses. Yeah. I'm not that broker. Also, like I said before, also the $150,000 studio to the $12 million townhouse. It's easy for me. I just have to put that property into my system, and I'm able to sell it in 45 days.
Got it. So I want to talk about that sale in 45 days thing in a second. But are you a girl named Patricia Cliff has been on the show? Do you know that name?
I don't. It sounds very familiar, but I haven't met her.
She does about $150 million. She's there in Manhattan. What she was telling me that in a place like Manhattan, here's what she said. She said, knowing your inventory is super, super important. And she knows it so well. Here's her sort of competitive advantage. She knows like the trash truck routes, right? So if somebody says, "Oh, I'm interested in that building," she can go, "Yeah, that's a good building, but like, listen, this, it's on the trash truck route on Thursdays. It's a mess or whatever." Do you get into that granular level of knowledge in your area?
I mean, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. When I list a property, I know everything about that building and everything about that neighborhood. But my point is that it's like the neighborhood broker's gone away with, and is the neighborhood broker didn't assimilate themselves to the new market. Right now, buyers have they can have the trash truck route at their whim by bringing it up on the internet. I'm sure that there's a trash truck route somewhere on the Department of Buildings website, somewhere on a city website. It is important to know that information, so you are the fact bearer for your buyer or seller, and you know that information. But my point is, like, they're going to know that information, and you're going to know that information. Like, what's going to set you different from knowing a trash truck route? What's going to set you apart? What's going to set you apart from the common broker, the neighborhood broker, the niche broker? And mine is, I cater to the entire Manhattan and neighborhood. Like, why only cater to buyers who are looking on their Upper West Side when you have a townhouse? Why not tap into the Tribeca market, who maybe couldn't afford the townhouse in Tribeca, and they want to come up to the Upper West Side or Upper East Side? I can tap into that market just because I'm selling a Tribeca townhouse, and I can let them know that I have an Upper East Side townhouse that's $5 million cheaper, and they might want to go see that.
Got it. Yeah, that's so okay. So let's go back to the you can sell it in 45 days. So you're, in terms of your unique selling, proposition or what a USP, it is that you're sort of omnipresent. You can be everywhere and you can know all. So what do you do? You said I could sell that building or that unit in 45 days. Is there a marketing sort of angle that you have that's unique?
Yeah. So I put a property in my system. First of all, I advertise on 47. Now, we don't have an MLS. Yeah. But I advertise on 47 different public websites. That entails everything from the localized websites, from a Street Easy that really focuses itself on New York City, to featured listings on Zillow, Trulia, and national public websites. And then my company has something called Knight Frank, which taps into the international market. So I'm on a 47 different websites, what I believe is higher than any other real estate broker in Manhattan today. There's also what's called these privatized MLSs. There's Limo for Douglas Elliman, Taxi, OLR, and Real Plus. And all of these, all the firms actually tap into these back-end websites. What sets me apart, what I feel it sets me apart, is I actually pay subscriptions to be in all of these MLSs. So I'm able to control I'm in control of my system, my apartment, and its marketing a little bit more than the average broker can. If I want to send an e-blast to every single Corcoran broker who's on my company, I subscribe to their MLS. I can go in there and I can send an e-blast to all those Corcoran brokers that I'm doing an open house this weekend. Please come and see it. So I feel that differentiates me from the average broker. But also, so you have the marketing in place. We have amazing photos because, the photos are the windows to every property online. I don't understand these brokers who just take these photos with their iPhones and expect to sell an apartment in the weekend. Yeah. No. I mean, you need more hits online. The more hits you get, the more eyeballs, the more chances you have phone calls and emails and the opportunity to sell the property. So I make sure that the photos are incredible. The marketing is incredible. Next is the price. It's all about price position in Manhattan. Most of these websites, these public websites, you can search in increments of $100,000. I don't understand why these brokers, my competition, will list a property for like 1.199. They've missed everybody who's searching for 1.1 to 1.1 to 1.2. You can double your hits just by one click of your mouse, right, by making a $1.2 million listing instead of a 1.199. Little things like that kind of set me apart. So price position, not so much price as a tool to get more buyers into the property, is another great way for me to sell properties very quickly. Also in Manhattan, things are so compact. You talked about how things are so it's like unlike any other city except for maybe San Francisco and some of the other older cities like maybe Boston. But everything's so compact. If you haven't sold a property, say I come out with a one-bedroom in Chelsea. If you haven't sold that property in 3 open houses, most likely, guess what? Either the marketing's off, which if you list with me, it's not going to be off. The photos are crap, and nobody's calling from the photos that are online. But that's not going to happen with me because we took amazing photos. It's been over $1,000 for my photos. They're incredible. Or it's the price.
Yeah.
Well, it's not rocket science. It's the price. You have to have that sweet spot where buyers feel that they want to place an offer in. I don't let my property sit on the market for more than three weeks. I mean, some owners are like, you know what? I want my price. Let's have it sit. I have no problem. But it's not rocket science. You got to make an adjustment to the price. You got to find that sweet spot where buyers are going to start to place offers. And I work with my sellers to do that. And that's one of the reasons why you can sell a property in 4 to 5 days. Because if you haven't sold it in 3 weeks, there's a group of buyers who've come by. They've all seen the property within about 3 weeks, and now you're just dealing with new buyers. You have like a 3-week chance to get an offer in. If you don't get an offer in, then you got to make an adjustment.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I love so. So again, no MLS. It's very dense. You pay for these subscriptions that you can email blast out all the Corcoran folks. What do you do in terms of building relationships with those people? I mean, is it important to have a ton of great relationships with your competitors or even within your Douglas Elliman?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like, there are some brokers who just keep a listing as a pocket listing, and they don't let anybody share because they want to keep that 6% commission out of themselves.
Yeah,
I just think that's detrimental to the owner. You're here to get the owner to get the highest price for your owner, and why not? I mean, it's all about moving the property and servicing your quote unquote boss for the next 2 months. So I co-broke with everybody. I e-blast all the brokers. I make sure that I have a big enough team that I can get them, around my owner's schedule. I can get them in at a moment's notice. I hope that, my peers in the real estate industry realize that when I come out with a listing, they'll have access to this listing. They'll have a fair chance to see this property. It's not about me hoarding a 6% commission. It's about me servicing my seller, getting the highest price or the market price for my property, getting in a contract, and moving on to the next property.
Got it, man. I think you've had more coffee than me today, Dylan. Trying to catch up with you. So let me ask you this: what do you know now, Dylan, that you wish you would have known when you started?
I mean, everything.
You're right.
Everything. Okay. But there are some building blocks that the tenacity I've always had. There are some building blocks that I feel set certain brokers apart from other brokers. I can't. It's the tenacity. It's you got to be. Like with it's like the 80-20 rule. There's 20% of the brokers control 80% of the business.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why, when I started at that smaller firm, there were only me and Stefan Hiller? Why were the only brokers out of 17 brokers in the small firm that made any money? Why is that? What sets us apart? What is the difference between these brokers? I mean, there's a lot of people that's going to go out there and do the hard work, but why is it so? Why is there some that are chosen and some that are not? It's something that baffles me. I don't know. I work hard, and I guess that makes me different from other brokers. But then I know there's a lot of brokers who do work hard. They try to put in the time and effort, and they still fall up short. So I guess that's really a question for Tom Ferry. Tom can answer that question. How do you change these brokers to get better?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that really quickly. So you're a workhorse. I mean, you're obviously a smart guy. And you're willing to try a bunch of stuff. What do you?
Hold on a second.
Sure.
304 West 89th Street, please. 89th and West End. I've got to run to the next appointment.
Look at you. You're doing business while you're. I mean, this. Okay. So we'll wrap up here in a second, Dylan. But tell me what a guy like you, right? This workhorse guy. You're a smart guy. What do you get out of something like a Tom Ferry, coaching organization?
Yeah, there's so many nuances that I haven't learned in this business yet that I love to learn from my peers across the country.
Like what?
I mean, ideas from great postcards, just sold cards, which I do every time I sell a property. I learned that you don't just send one postcard after you sell a property to either the co-op or condo or the neighborhood, I guess, if you're a national broker, but you follow up with multiple postcards. Hey, look, I got an over asking price for this property. Last week I sent that postcard. This week I said, "Hey, did you get my postcard? Let me show you. Let me sit down with you and show you the 3 great reasons why I got over asking for this particular property." Then I follow up with a third postcard, and usually, I always get 1 or 2 calls from my postcard ideas, and I get those from Tom. But I love to draw upon. I love to sit down and listen to other brokers and talk about their business and what I can learn from them. And I find that. I know there's a lot of great coaches out there, and I've had other coaches. I just always come back to the Tom Ferry wheelhouse, and I just find that he's a very charismatic guy.
He is. He is.
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
so.
I was just hanging with. We were at a thing 2 weeks ago. Okay, man. Listen, we're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna end this with just the 2 questions I always ask everybody, and this is the first one. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
You assume that I read, don't you? I got a lot of the Little Red Book of Selling and or Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I've never heard of the Little Red Book of Selling. I have to look it up. And Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, that's a great one. So, and everybody in the audience, if you haven't read at least Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's one of the books that should be in your bookcase. You can get a free copy using our link, audibletrial.com/superagentslive. Now, Dylan, for you, we got a sense of you early on. You wanted to be an actor, and then you found your calling. Do you feel that you have, what personal habit do you have that has contributed to your success?
I said it before, tenacity. I will not stop. And I probably learned this in acting when I had to go on 3, 4, 5 auditions in a day. I'd had to pull out of my classes at Cal State Los Angeles, run and do a casting, come back, finish a class, then run back out and do a casting, then work my pharmacy job at night. Like I've always just. I don't know, maybe my parents in the theater business, they're always workhorses. They were always, in the 70s, they called us latchkey children because there was no one at home because my parents were always working until 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then one was invariably doing a show until 11 o'clock. So it just came innately in my upbringing that hard work pays off. And, and that's one thing that I've learned, is my tenacity, my knack for just my consistent overall effort over and over again. I just won't stop.
And you know what? I think a guy like you, Dylan, I think, with your background, certainly you have this tenacity, but I feel that you're super self-reliant, right? If it's going to get done, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I've been working with Tom Ferry Group. Chris Martindale is my coach. I would love to be not so hands-on. Yeah. Let my assistants, let my buyer brokers do a little bit more. Because if I were one thing I were to change, it was for me not to be as I micromanage a little bit, and I know it's to my detriment, but I feel like, if someone's going to get it done, it's going to be me, and I'm learning to let go of the reins a little bit. And I know that's going to better my business and let me free me up so I can talk to more sellers and more developers. But here I am going to another open house. Another appointment for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Because you know what? At $1.395 million, it's got to be sold. Why is it still sitting on the market for the last 3 weeks? I tell myself, these guys can't get it done. Let me go up there and show it. Let me show them how it's done. Right. And sometimes I sell it and I tell everybody, and I'm very proud of myself. And I like to be proud of myself.
I'm the same way. Hey, Dylan, thanks for coming on the show, man. I'm sure there's people out there in Manhattan that's listening to this and goes, want to meet you. Where can people find you?
dhoffman@element.com. Shoot me an email. I'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Boom. That's it. All right, buddy. Hey, let's keep in touch.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
See ya.
Let's go.